Welcome to the West Virginia Soccer Association Beyond the Pitch podcast on the WVSA Digital Network. From the Dick's Sporting Goods Studios in Charleston, West Virginia, here's your host, Marcus Cole.
Welcome to our podcast. Before we welcome our guests, I want to remind you to like, subscribe, and share our program. Now, this helps us get the word out to others and let them know that we're providing valuable information designed for soccer players, coaches, referees, and parents. Back with us on the program, sort of in a different capacity now, is Marty Beall, former Division I women's head soccer coach. Now he's the lead of coaching development at Inkwell Sports Solutions. Marty, welcome back to the program.
Marcus, it's a joy to be back with you. I appreciate you having me back on.
Well, we're excited to have you. Lots going on with you, going from the coaching ranks in college now to this lead of coaching development. And that's one big thing that you've actually have really embraced, especially over the last few years that, you know, we've known you through Twitter and following you, is just there's so much more to coaching than just the X's and O's. And you've been a really firm believer in that. And that's what I kind of want to dive into today in talking to our coaches about their coaching development and how to make an impactful impact on their players. So why don't we go ahead and start off by tell us about this new position with Inkwell Sports Solutions and what exactly are you doing?
Yeah, well, so to back up a little bit, you know, it's funny, a few years ago, I was really into, you know, coaching development from a perspective of character development. So I got turned on to Brett Ledbetter of What Drives Winning, and his whole research and everything is centered around the development of character of the athlete, which then drives the, you know, behaviors of the athlete, which then drives the performance of the athlete. So that was where my whole mindset was shifted with coaches, is like, we need to be more invested in our athletes' character and developing their character, because not only will it help them, you know, in their athletic career, but then it'll help them in life as well. Well, just recently I got turned on to a guy named Cody Royal. It's interesting, like during the pandemic, you know, you have all these different things that go on throughout the pandemic. Well, one of the things that came out of it was a guy named Cody Royal and a guy named Fergus Colonel, I can't remember his other name, but him and his buddy started a Zoom, I want to call it a podcast, but Zoom sessions for coaches throughout the pandemic. And so I just, you know, had nothing else to do. So I'm tuning in and listening to these guys. And, you know, one guy's in Australia, the other guy's in Canada. And they're talking about coaching development. They're talking about, you know, these world-class coaches and how they develop them. Well, then Cody Royal ended up writing a book called The Good Stuff. And if there's any coach out there that has not read The Good Stuff, they need to go buy it right away. And in that book, he really goes through and describes what it's like to be a head coach and things that the head coach goes through that people really just aren't aware of. Everybody says that it's just about the X's and O's. You know, you're just studying game film the whole time. And while there's a lot of truth to that, there's still so much more that goes into being a head coach that I think gets left behind. So after I was no longer working at the University of Richmond, you know, Abby, who's the owner of Inkwell Sports Solutions, reached out to me, and we got to talking about her business and what they do with the company, and asked me to join on. And so now we're working with, you know, teams and coaches and athletic departments, you know, helping them bring out their unique greatness that they have individually, so that then they can, you know, essentially get better results collectively as a team. You know, so we go in and work with, you know, college teams, high school teams, work with athletic departments. And then I personally do a lot of work with coaches in a one-on-one basis. So that's kind of where I fit in a lot in the picture.
Well, I think that's certainly right up your avenue. You've always been about that as long as I've known you, and just through your own personal development as a soccer coach. And, you know, I always love the hashtag that you use, elevate others. And that, I mean, that's kind of what it's all about. And I think that's kind of where we need to take this going forward. Now, you talk about developing a player's character. Can you dive into that a little bit more of how that player character can be correlated with a player's development and their achievement?
Yeah. So if you look at a player's character, you know, how hardworking are they? How disciplined are they? You know, these are just normal character words that we use in normal life. How honest somebody is, how trustworthy they are. how competitive they are. Like those are just like in normal life, we talk about, those character words really resonate with people who are successful. Well, you add those same character words to a soccer player and you find out what they're going to be like in training. How resilient are they? What do they do after a mistake? How good of a teammate are they? Do they cheer on their teammate, or are they envious of their teammates, of the success that their teammate is having? Or are they, happy for their teammate and being a great teammate? Those are all things that just tie into, how somebody can elevate their game. And the wonderful thing about character development is it's not character traits. It's not like a person is just born like they are a certain way and there's no help for them. These are character development skills. So Brett Ledbetter and Dr. Jim Lohr basically came up with two sets of character development skills. One is performance character skills, and the other one's moral character skills. So the moral character skills are basically what governs your relationship with your teammates. How to be a great teammate, how to be a great friend, how to be a great, player to your coach, your relationship building and things like that. And then performance character skills, your competitiveness, your work ethic, things like that. Those are things that drive you individually to go do the work on the field or on the court to help you elevate your game. So those character skills, if you focus on developing those character skills, even in a training environment, if you spend a couple weeks saying, I'm going to focus on being more competitive in everything that I do. Now, competitive doesn't mean that you're a jerk, that you're nasty and you're cheating or anything like that. It just means that I understand the value of competition, that you're going to give your best effort, I'm going to give my best effort. And through that value of competition, we are both going to get better. And so if we focus on that for 2 weeks, at the end of those 2 weeks, my character trait of competitiveness, character skill, I said the wrong thing, character skill of competitiveness will rise up. And you start finding different areas of your game as an athlete to say, like, what, maybe I haven't been too resilient. Maybe I tend to get down on myself after mistakes. And if I really focus on, I'm going to be more resilient, I'm going to, responding much quicker to my mistake or my teammate's mistake for the next 2 weeks. And you just focus on that character of being resilient, then you're going to see your resilience skill go up over the next 2 weeks. You keep focusing on those different character skills, then as a player, without even focusing on your skill as an athlete, whether you're a basketball player or a soccer player, but you're going to see that those skills are going to elevate simply because you started focusing on your character skills.
Now, say I'm a coach and I've got this team, whether it's a club team or whether it's a high school team, or even if you're a college coach listening to this, and you're looking to get more involved in this and developing those skill sets. Obviously, after going out and buying the book, The Good Stuff, and reading that, what advice would you have to a coach to begin this journey down this road?
I think the first thing you have to recognize is, as coaches, we're expected to have all the answers. We're expected to know everything. And that's definitely not the truth. But I think we were wrapped up in this society, and I was a college coach for 26 years. So, I was truly entrenched in everything that was going on. So, while I definitely, wanted to learn and definitely wanted to grow as a coach, I really didn't know, how or what was really most important. And I think throughout, the past couple of years, we've noticed a huge emphasis on well-being. And an emphasis has been placed a lot on the well-being of the student athlete, which I 100% agree needs to be there for the student athletes, no matter what the age is, no matter what sport it is, to put things in place to help these young people navigate the world that we live in right now, and help their own well-being to be successful and to overcome challenges that they face. I think it's extremely important. But we've been forgetting, Marcus.
What?
The well-being of the coach.
Mm.
I don't know of any athletic department in the country, in the college setting, that has people in the athletic department focusing on the well-being of their coaching staff. The coaches are just expected to get it, do it, grind it, sleep on the couch, do the work, stay up till 2 o'clock watching game film. Like, that's just, the nature of the beast. You signed up for it. Well, that's all well and good, but you still, if you want better athletes, you need better coaches. You need coaches. If coaches are stressed out and, sleep deprived because they're not taking care of themselves, they're not going to be in the best situation they can be for their athletes. So this is one of the things that Cody Royal talks a lot about in his book, how so many different organizations across the world, this is not an American problem, this is a society problem across the world, that we focus on coaches as being the all and all, has all the answers, leave them alone, don't do anything with them. But in reality, if we started investing more time and energy in teaching coaches how to manage their time, how to know their own strengths as an individual, to know how to utilize those strengths so that they can fulfill their life and fulfill their players' lives. If we can spend more time and energy focusing on developing the coaching world, then our athletes are going to be much more better off as well.
It's weird that we don't think that way, because we're out there developing our players. We're out there developing our referees. Why not the coaches? I mean, we've got coaching courses and stuff, but that's all X's and O's and that type of thing. There's that missing piece in there.
It's really true, Marcus. I mean, I went to the convention for, I don't know how many decades, and you come away with so much knowledge about the X's and O's. And I will say the the United Soccer Coaches Convention has done a great job over the past few years, in particular, of adding more sports psychology classes, more leadership classes, more things like that. But when are we going to get down to the crux of, leading yourself, knowing how to really, manage your own emotions in a game, knowing how to manage your time, to understand, like, I can't stay up till 3 o'clock in the morning watching game film, then get up 4 hours later because my kids are waking up for school, and then expect to be my best at 4 o'clock in the afternoon when we hit the training field. But you know how many coaches do that?
A lot.
So many. Why? Because that's what's expected of coaches. And so that's what I'm passionate about. So, I work with coaches now, and we go through a thing called core clarity, which you can kind of see on my screen, some things about core clarity. And these are my top 5 strengths that I have individually. So each one of us has unique strengths that we all have. And the key that we try and do as a staff is trying to help our coaches that we work with know their own strengths, and not just know them, but know how to utilize them in practice, and then how to understand your players' strengths. So that way you can talk to your players in a language that really resonates with your players, so then they can go on to perform at a higher level.
What should a coach do if, obviously we're recognizing their strengths and things that they do well. Where does a coach go when they don't have a strength in that particular area? Say you got a coach that's just time management is just completely horrible. I know sometimes I get down that road. It's not a trait of mine that I'm that way all the time, but sometimes when I get stressed, or sometimes when I'm sleep deprived because I was working on a project or what have you, that time management goes out the window. What do we do in those situations?
I think there are certain moments in the season, or certain moments in life that, you just have to grind it out. I will say that there are certain moments, but I also think we got to lean on other people. You got to lean on your staff. You got to find so if you're a college coach and you have 2 or 3 assistant coaches, then you should find 2 or 3 assistant coaches that have different strengths than what you have. So that way you can hand off the baton to your assistant to do this activity. Or maybe it's a team manager. Maybe you're a high school coach and you have a team mom and they're really good at organization stuff, and you can hand some stuff off to your team mom to do some of that organizational thing. So I think the more delegation that we can do as coaches, the better off we're going to be able to operate in our own strengths. But there are things that we all have to do in life that may not be our strengths, may not be one of our top 5 talents that we have. So you just got to recognize the fact that, okay, this is an opportunity that I have to, I say grind it out, but I don't mean grind it out as far as like staying out till 4 a.m. I just mean like, okay, I've got to push through and I've got to get this done. I may not like doing it. I may not be great at doing it, but it needs to get done. So I'm going to get it done. And then making sure that your whole day isn't filled up with those events. If your whole day is filled up with those types of events, you're going to be completely drained at the end of the day. And if you're drained at the end of the day, then you'll get horrible sleep. Then the vicious cycle of, going down that spiral of like not being able to perform at the highest level will just come into play.
How hard is it that you've discovered so far in working with coaches for them to let go of some of that stuff and those responsibilities? Because I know I have difficulties with that at times.
I think letting go of the responsibility is tough, but also I think what's more tough is the coaches recognizing in themselves areas that they need to reevaluate what they're doing and how they're doing it. I think that self-reflection, that self-diagnosis of, you know what, this is an area that really isn't serving me well, and I need to make some changes to do that. And I think that self-reflection is the hardest part for college coaches I say college coaches, I think coaches in general, because again, you're so ingrained that you have to have the answers and you have to get it done and you have to make it work, that you just go. And while it works if you're a 25-year-old coach and you've been coaching for a year or two and you think that you can just grind it out, yeah, you probably can because you're young and energetic right now. But you try doing that for 10 to 15 years and it's not going to work. It's not going to be the same. And so I think we got to, be able to help our coaches develop the tools of understanding like what it is they're good at, what it is they're not good at, and how to pass on that baton and trust the people that are with you that they're going to get it done as well as you could.
We're talking to Marty Beall, lead of coaching development at Inkwell Sports Solutions. Now you mentioned too that you're with Don Williams and that company in college recruiting. So because of that, we're going to go ahead and do a college recruiting question here for you. If you had one or two tips that you would give to somebody that's looking to play at the next level, play in college? I know we always ask you this, but what are those one or two tips that you would give to a player of when it comes to college recruiting?
I think the number one piece of advice I have to every single kid who wants to play in college is focus on finding the right fit. The right fit in terms of location, size of school, academics of the school, the playing level of the program, the environment within the program, like finding the right fit for you as an individual player, I think is hands down the most important tip that any player should take away from any recruiting talk, because so many kids, and it's our society that does this. We highlight all these Division I's, the Power 5 schools, oh, this kid's going there, this kid's going there, and it's like broadcasted everywhere about how amazing it is. Do you know how many kids are transferring in the transfer portal out of those Power 5 schools? I mean, so many, because it's not as great as they say it is. It's hard stinking work and it's competitive, and you could end up being recruited somewhere and you be number 29 player on the roster and you're not playing for 3 years. And if you don't love the environment, if you don't love that program, if you don't love that school, if you don't love where it's located, if you don't love the academics, it's not a right fit for you. You're going to be absolutely miserable, and then you're just going to transfer. So then you're starting that whole process all over again. So from the very beginning, I encourage families to go visit schools, go visit them in person, not just look at them online, but go visit them in person, drive through the campus, drive through the town, meet people, talk to people, and really get a good feel for what that school is like and what that environment is like. Because you want to be able to spend, 4 great years there and having a great time. And I know athletes who have gone to, Power 5 schools, thinking Power 5 is the glory, transferred to a Division II or Division III school, the last couple of years, and just had an amazing experience. They're like, man, I wish I had done this from the get-go. I'm like, yeah, because you were focused on the wrong thing. You were focused on the stars versus focusing on the finding the right environment, the right fit.
And then, of course, you add in the fact of usually you end up transferring. Sometimes that's an extra year of school that you have to take just to make up, because credits don't transfer over. A lot of people don't think about that.
Yeah, the credits don't transfer, and then you got to find a home. So many people think it's just so easy just to transfer. I'm going to go to the school for a couple of years. Oh, I'm not happy. I'll just transfer to somebody else. Oh my goodness, Marcus, there was a great graphic, a picture that was posted on social media some time ago, and it was a line of football players. I know we're talking about soccer here, but the analogy is still the same. So there's a line of football players, and there's like 100 people in this line, and it's the transfer window. The transfer portal, not transfer window, transfer portal. And then at the school, there were 3 quarterbacks, because there's a quarterback picture, that there are 3 quarterbacks. And the caption was like, do you want to be one of 200 kids trying to transfer, or do you want to be one of 3 competing for playing time? I mean, that's the reality that these kids just don't understand. It's like, you think that you can just transfer and you're going to, find a place to play. That's not always the reality. And that's a difficult thing for the players to understand. So if they find the right fit from the beginning of their recruiting process, then life becomes so much easier.
I always told my kids before they were, or when they were in high school and they were getting ready to look at colleges to compete at athletically, I told them, I said, look for somewhere where you would, if you tore your shoulder, he was a swimmer. I said, if you tore your shoulder out and could never swim again, would you be happy here for 4 years? Same thing with my daughter. If you blew your ACL, I said, would you be happy at this university for 4 years if you couldn't play soccer?
Absolutely. I mean, that's the key. And, but unfortunately there are too many parents out there who don't understand that and don't, feed that information to their sons and daughters on a regular basis. So their sons and daughters that just get wrapped up in society. And, I think if the more that we can do to help, educate, these young people about the realities of it, the better off these young people are going to be later in life. So that's what I love about my role with Sports Recruiters USA is, working with these student athletes, working with these boys and girls who are trying to play college soccer and really helping them understand, you may think that you want to play up here at this particular level, but your playing level is probably going to be right around here. And the question to ask yourself is, do you want to play, or you just want to be on a team, or do you want to have an impact? Like what type of role do you really want to have? And I think that goes into, the type of fit that the player wants to have, within the college system. So getting them to really understand that it's not all about, just playing that Power 5 program, that Division I program. There's so many great programs out there, NAIA programs, junior college programs. I mean, there's over 1,000 different college soccer programs out there for players to choose from. So I think it's really important that we, as parents, and my particular job as a staff, is to help educate these young people and helping them see the value of finding the right fit first and foremost.
If somebody is interested in learning more about you, Marty, and Inkwell Sports Solutions, where can they find you?
They can find me on social media. Marty_Beall is probably the easiest way to find me. MARTY_BEALL. Through Instagram, through Twitter, Facebook, you can find me everywhere.
Absolutely. And that's where we discovered Marty a number of years ago and have followed him. And that's why we've had him on the podcast a number of times, always giving some great information and some great insight. Marty Beall, lead of coaching development at Inkwell Sports Solutions. Thank you so much for coming on the program. It's great to have you back.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, Marcus. Really appreciate it.
And thank you for listening to the podcast. We hope we provided some valuable information for you today. And if we did, make sure you let everybody know about our program. You can follow us on our social media channels, including Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Just search for us at WV Soccer. Take care, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the West Virginia Soccer Association Beyond the Pitch podcast. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share our program. Copyright 2023. All rights reserved.